Have you ever heard of the Osterman Weekend, 1983? If not, buckle up, because we're taking a deep dive into one of the weirdest, wildest spy thrillers of the 80s. This was Sam Peckinpah's last movie, the guy who did The Wild Bunch and Straw Dogs, and let's just say it was a crazy ride both on screen and off. So here's the basics. The movie's based on a Robert Ludlum novel, the guy who wrote the Jason Bourne books that came out in '79. The script was mostly by Alan Sharp, though Peckinpah and a guy named Ian Masters did a bunch of uncredited rewrites. There's a stacked cast. Rutger Hauer plays John Tanner, a TV journalist with a CIA past. John Hurt is this rogue CIA dude named Fassett. And you've got Burt Lancaster as the ruthless CIA boss, plus Dennis Hopper, Craig T. Nelson, Chris Sarandon, Meg Foster, and more. Genre: pure paranoid espionage thriller with a dash of psychological drama, all wrapped up in that sweaty 80s conspiracy vibe. It runs just over an hour and a half in the theatrical cut and came out of 20th Century Fox with about $6.5 million in the budget. Spoiler, they barely made that back at the box office. Ouch! Now, for the backstory. Peckinpah, by this point, was in rough shape. He hadn't made a film in 4 years. His health was shot, he had addiction problems, and everybody in Hollywood said he was impossible to work with. The producers literally bought the rights to Ludlum's book just to coax Peckinpah out of retirement for one last job after his previous movie bombed. Peckinpah saw Osterman as a shot to make his kind of movie. Loads of paranoia, government corruption, media manipulation, all the stuff that makes you question who you can trust. He even called it his last picture and wanted to go out with a bang. All right, here's the plot. Rutger Hauer's character, John Tanner, has this hard-hitting TV news show. One day, CIA guy Lawrence Fassett, John Hurt, shows up and claims Tanner's 3 oldest friends, Bernard Osterman, Richard Cardone, and Joseph Tremaine, are secretly KGB agents. Tanner agrees to let the CIA set up surveillance at his house for their annual weekend get-together. Of course, it all spirals out of control. Paranoia, betrayals, violence, and a blur of who's really telling the truth. Is it faithful to Ludlum's book? Not even close. Ludlum wrote a straightforward, edge-of-your-seat spy thriller. Peckinpah and his team ripped it apart, turned it into this cynical, almost darkly funny take on how institutions are all a mess. They rewrote a ton, dropped subplots, changed the ending, and Ludlum hated the results so much that he pretended it didn't exist. Let's talk about the production. Total chaos, even for Peckinpah. He was often missing or drunk, and Rutger Hauer later said you'd barely even know the director was there half the time. The original cut was over 2 hours, but producers snatched it away and chopped it down to 103 minutes. They also ditched a ton of violence and nudity so it wouldn't get slapped with an X rating. Despite all this, whenever Peckinpah was actually present, the cast said the set was electric. He still had those flashes of genius. Even after all the behind-the-scenes drama, there's plenty of classic Peckinpah moments left. Slow-motion violence, macho friendship that turns into backstabbing, total distrust of authority, and a super dark take on marriage and relationships. Burt Lancaster's CIA boss is basically Peckinpah's style distilled. Charming on the outside, monster underneath. When it came out in 1983, critics absolutely ripped it to shreds. Roger Ebert called it a complete mess. The New York Times said it was incoherent. But here's the funny thing, over the years it's become a cult favourite. People now say Peckinpah was way ahead of his time, predicting stuff like surveillance culture, fake news, and reality bending before anybody else. Quentin Tarantino even calls it one of Peckinpah's hidden gems. If you check out the Arrow Video or Kino Lorber Blu-rays, you can see Peckinpah's preferred 116-minute cut. It's way more coherent and brutally funny than the official theatrical version. Bottom line? The Osterman Weekend is a mess, sure, but it's a fascinating, feverish mess. If you love 70s-style conspiracy flicks or you're a Peckinpah diehard, do yourself a favour and track down the director's cut. It's like listening to a brilliant but totally unhinged old man rant in a bar at 2 a.m. You might not understand every word, but you'll never forget the experience. Want more 80s movie nostalgia? Subscribe to Movies of the 80s.